Good afternoon for the Law&Crime Network. I am Linda Kenny Bott, and we have breaking news, and I have it in my hand right here. Remember the owner of the Patriots, Robert Kraft, and the sex case that we've heard so much about this week with his attorney trying to get those sex tapes just, boom, go away, sex tapes. Well, guess what? Today, the police arrested the 58-year-old sex worker. Her name, and excuse me if I pronounce it wrong, is Shen Mengbi, and she has been arrested. Interesting, since we know that she, if they don't have the tapes, is the person who could testify as to what she did to Robert Kraft and whether it was a sex act. Remember this week, his attorney, William Burke, was talking about the sex act? Well, I have here to discuss with me Katherine Katie Smith. Katie, what do you think of this?
I think this is such much ado about nothing. I mean, listen, prostitution, of course, is illegal, but these are two consenting adults, older adults. There's no underlying issue of trafficking. I don't get what the big deal is. And
that's what the police first said, this was human trafficking. We all went, okay, that's terrible. But then it turns out they said they have no proof it was human trafficking. So what you have is basically a hand massage of Mr. Kraft, allegedly, that was taken by a sneak and peek camera. What's that?
Well, a sneak and peek camera, as I understand it, is a camera that was actually installed, like a hidden camera, to see what was happening inside the massage parlor. I mean, that just strikes me as really creepy, and I don't want to see the tape. I think all of this is just way over the top. I get it, I understand it's illegal, but I think we have bigger issues to focus on.
Yeah, the amount of money being spent here. And guess what? You know, I said before, if the tape is suppressed, how are they going to prove it? The sex worker's not going to testify. Well, maybe she is, because now the police can give her immunity to testify against all the people that we sometimes called in the old-fashioned way Johns, or now clients, or people who got a massage, so to speak. So, indeed, Mr. Burke, William Burke, is a great attorney, and he was in court this week, and he said, Katie, that we don't need to see this tape. We don't need to see it, because it's basically, you know, I keep saying the Law&Crime Network could become a porno channel. You're laughing about that, I know.
But I mean, it's true. I mean, I've never seen anything like this released. I think it's really bizarre. I do understand that obviously surveillance tape is taken in criminal matters, but this to me is way over the top. You don't see this typically. I understood if there was some issues of trafficking, but it's clearly not.
And what are we going to do if indeed, in terms of all these other people that just had massages and all of a sudden they've been taped all over? I mean, women tend to go to massage parlors, not this one, but massage parlors. What if it turns out there's illegal activity in the next room and you're being taped? It'd be pretty upsetting, to say the least.
I mean, we have Fourth Amendment protections against this type of behavior. You're not supposed to be spied upon unless there is a particularity with it. And my understanding, I mean, there would have to be one heck of a warrant to be able to tape every single person who was getting a massage. I mean, this is way over the top.
That's going to be one of the issues. Well, that is Mr. Burke. He is the attorney for Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, a team that I happen to know very well. As you know, I represented Aaron Hernandez. So I have no love lost for Mr. Kraft in that regard to that case. However, I do think that he's being treated unfairly here. What do you say, Katie?
I agree. I agree with what his attorney said.
I agree, too.
I mean, I think the only way that video would be at all relevant were if Kraft or the masseuse would say, have a dispute of what the tape was actually showing, such that, well, I don't agree that what it's showing is what I did.
Well, we're going to cover this on Friday. Law&Crime is going to be there covering the court on Friday. And we're going to hear what the continuation of the hearing is. Maybe we'll hear the judge's decision, but I agree. Florida has these expansive rules that you get discovery just about the time the defense attorneys get it. And we see in other cases that I know that I've had, I'm sure you've had, where indeed evidence is secured. Evidence is not allowed to the public because it could hurt. Usually it could hurt the prosecution case. Right. Here, and that's always granted. Here they're saying it could hurt the defense reputation and be ridiculous. And they're saying that, well, the public law may overcome that, but I don't think that's the analysis.
I completely agree. I think one of the lines that his attorney was saying, this prurient interest, is in fact true. If all these facts are agreed in an affidavit and there's no dispute of fact, the video does nothing legally to shed light on anything. It's just for gawkers to watch and comment, and I don't think that that's a reason to disclose evidence.
I don't know, but I don't want to see Mr. Kraft or any of the other people that I'm reading about, and even reading about their names is bad enough in these, you know? It's really, really an interesting situation. But But we have a whole day, not just Robert Kraft. We have a whole day. And I know you want the prurient interest, everybody, okay? All right? You know what I'm going to do with it right now? I'm ripping it up, so in case you don't have it, you can't get it from me accidentally. But we have a whole docket today on Law and Crime. And I know you've been starting with some. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We are going to talk about a very emotional hearing this morning in New York. The Queens jogger, the killer, the rapist, the sexual assaulter of the Queens jogger, Chanel Lewis, just sentenced for Karina Vetrano. Her mother, her father, her family talked to the judge, talked to everybody in the courtroom about the devastating effect of this. We're going to replay some of that. We're going to discuss some of that because there have been issues that the defense has raised. We're going to discuss it with Katie, whether or not we think those are real issues. Then we're going to go on to another case that we're covering in Tiffany Moss in Georgia. She is accused of helping to kill and burn the body of her 10-year-old stepdaughter, Imani Moss. Her husband has already pleaded guilty, and he is going to actually testify against her. So you can imagine that he's going to blame her, and she is probably going to blame him. But we have Vincent Hill on the ground there. He'll be talking with us hopefully later. He's been covering jury selection. He is at the home where the child's body was burnt, allegedly, by the defendant. So we're going to get the first-hand information only here on Law and Crime. And then we're going to go to the McStay family murders. The McStay case, as you know, we have been covering since January. That is a whole family. A mother, a father, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old who went missing in February 2010. They were found by somebody casually who was biking in the area in November 2013. The trial is now where Charles Chase Merritt is accused of killing the whole family, and there are severe evidentiary issues. But yesterday we heard from a blood spatter expert criminalist for the defense, and you know what? We may actually give you a little bit of a demonstration about blood spatter if you stay tuned. I know I'll have to tell our chat room that. So we have a full day. And then, just in case you haven't been following Merritt every single day, because we have, and as you know, the cameras have not been there all the time, but we're back in the courtroom because it is now April, and this did start in January. We have what's called a package. It's really a news clip. It's really a newsreel that we have put together here at Law and Crime, and it is being narrated by the best in Law and Crime. You'll know who when you hear it. So let's discuss a little bit of blood spatter. I have my blood here in a little dropper. It's not really my blood. It's red food coloring, okay? So it's not the consistency, but you'll get the point. So if you drop this, okay? If you do, oh my God, you should see Katie here. She's doing this. If you drop this, and I'm going to show you here, you're going to get stains that are kind of like, if I tip, can the camera get in on that? Well, now they're moving. Now they're going downwards. Okay. Okay. What happens is they're pretty round, and then as they move, they go downward. And if you're walking like that, you get a blood trail. And what he's saying, there's no blood trail. And Katie, now you really better put your thing on, because if you have a victim, here's my little dog Valjean, and he's been hit in the head. Okay. And then you drag him along, you get all these kind of smears all over. And if you are hitting somebody, oh my God, look at this. Look at this. It's all over my already. You're going to have blood. See, look at my desk. It's full of blood. I mean, my God, the cleaners is going to have a thing. So, and this is just a little blood dropper, ladies and gentlemen. Katie's got her poncho in front of her, all right? And so that's what he's talking about. He's talking about, right, Katie? There's no evidence of a blood spatter, and blood spatter just doesn't go on a round table and stop.
No, and I think that this demonstration is so important to show. I mean, that is a tiny bit of fake blood. Tiny. And look how it got everywhere inadvertently from just very few movements, right?
Even on, oh my gosh, they're going to kill me. Even on the glass table. No, I'm not. Everything's going to be cleaned up. I'm actually going to leave these for Michael Bryant because he always looks for props, okay? And I'm going to see if he can outdo this blood spatter demonstration, or maybe even in the court if they can outdo it. But that's what they're talking about. Blood is, you can't even get, look at this, I'm all over me and I didn't expect it, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, your first demonstration was apt, where if someone is struck and they're bleeding, and let's just say bleeding from your hand, and you reach your hand over, it's going to make these very circular, even drops, because with water and gravity or liquid and gravity, it's going to pull it down into straight circles, right?
Okay.
But blunt force trauma is you're going to have a trail behind it, like you did when you demonstrated and the blood dripped off. I mean, here, from my understanding, all we have are these tiny little drop spatter, which doesn't really seem consistent.
And it may not even be. I think Mr. Beasley said, there he is. Look, he's doing his demonstration there on white butcher paper, as we call it, and he's going to talk about. Let's watch it. But yeah, that you wouldn't just have a round table, and it's not going to be on that little round table that's going to stay there. That's blood that has been cleaned. Remember, that table had been cleaned. So he's now doing smear and cast off, which I didn't talk about, which is if the blood gets on something like this, like a towel I'm holding, and you put it behind you, it can cast off all over. But it's stuff that you just don't clean up. Now let's see what he's doing, what his result's going to be. Now see, look at that. Look at the blood, just like we were talking about. That's what he's talking about, a blood trail, a cast off.
That looks like cast off. I mean, if there was blunt force trauma from a huge hammer, you would have cast off everywhere. I mean, there's no way to prevent it.
Aren't they lucky that I didn't bring in the huge hammer with this glass top table that we have here? But that's what he's talking about. And remember that those spatter stains, allegedly, were not seen by anyone. Spatter does not end at a table. You can't really go clean it all up. It's not like food coloring that washes away. You see, it's pretty effective to me. And he didn't even get it on himself. Now, I got it all over myself, and I wasn't wearing any type of cloak. But if you're hitting somebody, you have that pressure, and then also you got to contain the family. If you're killing 4 people inside there, that means there has to be somebody containing 4 members of the family.
There would have to be a lot of people, and also to your point with cast off, anytime there's blunt force trauma and there's bleeding, this cast off specifically is if the item that is striking them would be physically reaching, and then when it reaches back, that and gravity and centrifugal force causes that to flick everywhere. So you'd get cast off on the ceiling behind you, and then the blood spatter would be when you strike the object, it would splatter over there.
Would you like to strike my object?
I would love to.
Okay, she's gonna show you how you get. Oh my God, here we go. There it is, see? Look, but that's not blood spatter. That's probably stains, because you don't have the white around it like you see in blood spatter. You have, you have drops, and then they may heal circular, but you're not going to have that after it's been, especially if it's been cleaned.
Exactly. I mean, the only way you would, do I have to hit it with my hand? You want me to get dirty?
Yeah, that's it. Visually loves company.
Can I use your guy?
Yeah, so my poor dog.
He's actually going to be the weapon this time. So I hit.
Whoa!
It splatters.
It's all over. It's spattered all over.
And then cast off is up here. Imagine the trajectories trailing up to the ceiling. I won't do it. Behind us, I flick forward. The remnants flick forward, hits, and then the splatter goes that way. Spatter.
I'm like a crazy woman. They'll tell you here. I'm a crazy woman with spatter.
It splatters, but it spatters.
It splatters, but it's spatter. Okay, so we're back now. We're going to see more, right, of Rand. We're actually going to go to break. Oh my God, we're having so much fun, but we have to go to break. We'll be back. Stay with us. Katie Smith. This was the expert for the defense. That was on his direct. And I thought he was pretty effective comparing what at the table was not. Because you do not, just like here on our glass table, you're not going to penetrate it with any type of substance. It's not going to go under the that's why you polyurethane a table, especially when you have kids, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and some woods get that pattern. It's called blood woods as they age. So what did you think of his demonstration?
I thought it was very telling, and I think it should be admitted. I mean, especially if we're going to counter the prosecution's evidence that was in fact blood spatter. I think he should be allowed to put forth that demonstration to the jury.
And indeed, if you're, as we showed everybody, if you're going to drop something, dripping from above, it drops, in a little round pattern. And if you're moving, you have a little tail to it. But you don't just stay on those little round patterns. No. On a 36-inch table, correct?
No, correct. Unless, in fact, you were stationary, moving very slowly, and just dripping from the top of it. Any type of blunt force trauma or cast-off would not make the stains that they were showing.
Well, let me ask you this: when was the last time you saw a violent murder of 4 people that the murderer was moving slowly?
It's ridiculous. And also, we were talking about this in the break. they're making so much ado about this evidence, but really, what does that forward the case for the defense or the prosecution where exactly the murder took place? Because I don't see how that would shed any light in one way or another on who the suspect is.
Yeah, it seems to me the prosecution should have not gone with this as a main theory, go with something else, that maybe he did it, but here's the obvious ways it's not in the house, because I think once they wrap themselves and embrace the house, that like undercuts, the proofs of whether or not Chase Merritt is guilty in a way.
Exactly. I think it weakens all the other possibly strong evidence that they would have that's in their favor, because this is weak. I think to bootstrap onto this theory that the murders occurred there because of these random drops on the table is very weak.
Which may not be random drops. Anyhow,
Right.
anyhow, obviously you're seeing what is supposed to be the murder weapon right there. So that's Mr. Beasley. Katie, it's been wonderful having you on. I have your bio, by the way, before I sign you off. Moot court academics. I won moot court too, so we have something in common. She is a rising star, and I can tell you she is. Thank you very much. Thank you for being a good sport with the blood spatter expert, and please come back.
Thank you for having me.
We are here at Law&Crime. Have to go to a quick break. We will be back. We're going to talk about the McStay trial and other things. Stay with us.